while my first thought is not that it's aliens, I promise you that is one of my thoughts.
Neil deGrasse Tyson has put out a response to the suggestion that interstellar object 3I Atlas could possibly, maybe, potentially, not definitively, maybe, be alien technology. In a recent video he uploaded to Star Talk just 2 hours before I recorded this video, he responded in the most Neil deGrasse Tyson way possible. He's referring, of course, to the suggestion made by Avi Loeb and his team in this paper back in July, which is titled, "Is the Interstellar Object 3I Atlas Alien Technology?" That's what he's talking about. That's the paper he's referring to in this video. Let's take a quick look at the first part of Neil's response, and then we'll come back and talk about it. I have thoughts. I'm sure you will too. Let's see what Neil has to say.
Aliens paying us a visit from another star system? What's up with that?
What's up with that? Indeed.
Let's go back a few thousand years. Consider that people tried to understand the world around them. And in so doing, every time they got to a point that they didn't understand, in came the power of a god. Let's go back to ancient Greece. Storms rose up in the seas. Where did that come from? How? Why? Did they have meteorology? No. Did they understand barometric pressure? No. Did they know anything about the atmosphere? No. But they knew the will of Poseidon. Poseidon would be enraged by the behavior of people on the shores. And that would account for what they saw. This assigning the glory and the wrath of a deity to things we don't understand is coined by philosophers as the God of the gaps. It's actually got quite a noble history when you think of it. One of the greatest works of science ever is Principia Mathematica. In there, Newton unleashes the 3 laws of motion, the laws of gravity. He figures out how the solar system works. He's figuring out, how do these planets sustain their orbits? Are they pulling on each other, and in what way and how? He figures all this out. But wait a minute, every time Earth goes around the backside between the sun and Jupiter, Jupiter's going to tug on it a little bit. Comes back around again, Jupiter tugs on it again. Jupiter has a strong gravity. What's going to ultimately happen to Earth's orbit? In this scenario, Earth's orbit will become more and more elongated. The gravitational tug of war between the sun and Jupiter will yank Earth out of its orbit, destabilizing the solar system. Not only Earth, the other planets as well. He said, oh my gosh, this will take time, but clearly the solar system is stable. So he writes, can't understand why it's stable, because I know my equations work. So God must step in every now and then to fix things. Now, you got to be badass to invoke God at the limits of your knowledge when you explain so much with the equations you wrote. That, by Newton, was a God of the gaps invocation.
Okay, fine. That's Newton. You're invoking the ancient Greeks and Poseidon. Fine. So far, everything you're saying makes sense, but it's not really related to what we're talking to. Let's see, can you tie these things together? Tie these 2 threads together, Neil. Let's go.
He brought in God when there was something about the natural world he could not explain and did not know. Notice Newton did not invoke God to explain the force of attraction between Earth and the moon. He nailed that. He wrote down that equation. That was working. He didn't invoke God when he talked about his 3 laws of motion. Force equals mass times acceleration. That works. We still use it today. He only invoked God at the limits of his knowledge. So let's fast forward to the
and you, according to Neil, that's badass. That's what he just said.
Second half of the 20th century on into the 21st century. What happens? Well, we have Hollywood. Nothing better than a good sci-fi movie with aliens in it. And aliens, they're aliens, so they got better technology than us, better spaceships. They do stuff we can't do. It appears to me that we live in a time where God of the gaps has been supplanted by alien of the gaps.
Okay, that's not the case. First of all, did you see what he just did there? Let's back up. Did you see what he did? I'm going to just mute this for a second. As soon as aliens come into the conversation. Now, the very first thing he shows you in the very first thing in this video is a shot of this paper. And it's published by Avi Loeb from the astronomy department at Harvard University in Cambridge. So that, like, he doesn't mention that. That's left out, right? Here's what he does show you. He shows you this goofy, the first time he brings aliens into the conversation, he says Hollywood, and then he cuts to this goofy shot of this stupid, I mean, it's kind of cool, but this is stupid example of what people might think aliens are, and it just looks corny as hell, and there's no reason for it. There's no reason for it. So he's talking about this God of the Gaps concept and tying it to modern day ufology. But he's ignoring the fact that modern day ufology isn't based on nothing. And it's not based on Hollywood fantasy. It's based on 75, 80 years of consistent evidence and consistent testimonies from people who have been highly placed in the military and private sector, all who have said very consistent things over the years about the fact that there is some form of a crash retrieval, recovery, and reverse engineering program. These beings are real. These are civilians. These are military people at all levels of the chain of command, from highly trained Top Gun fighter pilots all the way up to top brass, all the way up to and including some presidents. I'm thinking here of George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump. I'm thinking of Jimmy Carter. I'm thinking of, just the ones that jump to mind. Okay. So this isn't a nothing burger. There is something here. And he predictably belittles that whole group, right? And then associating it with this goofy visual from this silly science fiction thing, with his whole, it's also Hollywood. I understand why he's doing it. This is his, he's trying to ride this wave too, and it's good for his channel, but it's just so backwards. It's so backwards. Let's go on and see what he says next, and then I'll tell you what I think.
Time where God of the Gaps has been supplanted by Alien of the Gaps. I've had people come up to me and say, where did the pyramids come from? And I'm saying, well, I'm thinking the ancient Egyptians built it. How could they have possibly built that? That's too complicated. They must have gotten help from aliens. Alien of the Gaps. So this urge is strong. And I get it. And I feel it. And I want it to be true as well. I don't want to use it as a substitute for continuing to ask questions about what you're looking at.
Okay. In the actual paper, they say it's a pedagogical exercise. This is a thought experiment. It's not meant to prove that there are actually alien probes soaring through our solar system. That's not what this is. This is literally a thought experiment. They're just saying in the paper that it could be. There are anomalies associated with this particular interstellar visitor, that these are things we've never seen before. They are anomalous. They are weird. They're not what we expected to see based on what we've seen before. So given the fact that all of these strange, unlikely things are associated with this particular object, is it possible that one of the possible explanations for this could be that it might be, maybe, alien technology? That's what they're suggesting. That's what the paper is saying. It's literally a thought experiment. Okay. Have these anomalies been explained thoroughly by anybody? Not yet. And I'm sure that eventually they will be in the fullness of time. But to say that people are assuming that this thing is alien because of this paper and associating those two things belittles the work that Avi Loeb's team is doing. It belittles the Galileo Project. It belittles the UFO community in general. And it just makes it seem silly when it's not. It's not. He makes a huge mistake here, and he makes the same mistake all the time. And I'll play another minute or two of this, and then we'll come back and talk about it. But just listen to where he goes next.
I don't want to use it as a substitute for the simple statement, I don't know what it is. That's powerful. If you don't know how to say, I don't know, that means you're going to walk through life requiring answers to everything. And you know something? Some of those answers, many of those answers will just be shown to be wrong because you are invoking an answer when there isn't evidence to support it. We see things in the sky we can't explain. There's a light in the sky and it moves rapidly. I don't know what it is. Investigate it. Let's get more data.
That's what we're doing, dickhead. What do you think this is? That's why this paper came out from Avi Loeb's team at Harvard. This isn't coming from nowhere, dude, for one thing. And so, like, I'm with Gary Nolan when Gary Nolan was like, did you guys ever see that clip where Gary Nolan is like, just shut the fuck up, Neil? Like, he really drops the mic on Neil deGrasse Tyson in the best possible way. But like he puts words into other people's mouths and he then responds to what he thinks that they said. And that's not what's going on. If you just read the paper, that's not what this is. Right. So this whole, like, his whole reaction to this is all based on something that is not even really there. Is it being overhyped by the media and content creators on YouTube for the alien connection? Probably, yeah. But that's what he's doing too. Like, he's putting out videos on this. So, and that's not what the paper says. The paper he referred to in the beginning of the video is not saying any of these things. As a matter of fact, he's so wrong here because he makes this comparison to ancient Greece. And he's like, they didn't know anything in ancient Greece, so they assumed it must be Poseidon who made the ocean angry or whatever the fuck. When in fact, what's actually happening here is a team of very skilled and highly trained, educated astronomers are looking at the data that's coming in from all the sophisticated devices that we have to measure these things, and they're making they're making a guess. They're looking at it. They're saying it could be aliens. It's possible. And they're basing that on something. They're not basing it on nothing. They're basing it on the trajectory. They're basing it on the speed. They're basing it on the other anomalies. They're just saying, out of all the things that we know of that could explain the anomalous things that we're finding, aliens are on that list. Which at the end of this video, Neil comes around and actually owns up to. He admits that that is a possibility. And I think he does it as kind of a face-saving thing, because it is obvious when you look at the paper that they're not saying what he's saying they're saying. I know that's confusing, but let's go on.
I'm all in. But the moment you say, I don't know what I'm looking at, therefore I know what I'm looking at. I'm looking at aliens. That is a leap. Oh my gosh. That's a leap. And it's a leap I'm not prepared to take. What's gotten a lot of attention of late, deservedly, is we've had now 3 visitors from interstellar space. Love it. We've been looking for these puppies for decades, by the way. Everything in the solar system, the planets, the moons, the comets, the asteroids, all of it. If you calculate how much energy it has, it is contained within the solar system. None of these objects have enough energy to escape the gravitational pull of the sun. The sun owns them. That's our family. It's the solar system. So we learn about the planets, we go there, we land on them, we land on the moons, we land on the asteroids, we landed on comets, we get data, so we get a sense of what these objects are. That goes into our catalogs, we form our hypotheses, we have some theories that get tested. That's how science works.
That's what's been done. They've examined the data they have. They're forming hypotheses. They're asking a question. They're saying, could it be aliens? Maybe. We should think about it. That's it. He's responding to something that's not there. This is all for, like, I don't understand what this is.
Now we have a visitor from another star system. Again, we've been looking for these for decades. We expected it to show up at some point. Here's the solar system in orbit around the center of the galaxy, drifting through space. Something's bound to visit us that escaped another star system. By the way, models for the formation of our solar system suggests that we might have been born with many more planets than 8. Upwards of a dozen, 15, 20, possibly as many as 30 planets started in this solar system, many of which had unstable orbits, crashed into Jupiter, crashed in the sun, or got ejected. You get ejected with higher speed that could be contained by the sun. They're out there somewhere. We think that happens in every star system that formed. So some of that junk at some point is likely to pass through our star system, the solar system. Okay, so 3 objects have been found in the last decade, okay? 3 of them. And they've had some anomalous features. Fun, I love it. The first of these, Oumuamua, discovered with telescopes in Hawaii. That's a Hawaiian word for first scout, basically. So that, as it came through the solar system, we said, all right, we know what trajectory an object with that speed and that direction coming in should take as it rounds the sun. Then there was the actual trajectory, which was different. Like, whoa. Well, comets have a way of outgassing when they get near the sun, and that puts an extra little sort of force on their arc of motion that has them move in ways that are not purely gravitational. And that's true for all comets. So we thought maybe it's outgassing. But suppose you look and there's no outgassing. So what's going on? Well, that's fun. We don't understand it. Not initially. So what's your first thought? Is it aliens? That could be. Like I said, it's not my first thought. I promise you, it will be my last thought. But it's not in the list. It's in the list. It's just way down based on the history of trying to understand things that we don't understand. We have 2 more objects that have come through, and they have some weird properties. The brightness, the rotation rate, and so they don't match some of our models for what comets and asteroids should do. Whatever anomalous behavior these objects exhibit, I'm delighted that they're finally in the catalog, and we'll figure it out one day, maybe. And while my first thought is not that it's aliens, I promise you that is one of my thoughts, but it'll be last on the list.
Okay. Thank you, at least, for going that far. If you look, all right, this is just not, we're on the first page of the actual paper. In the introduction, it says right here, this paper is contingent on a remarkable, but as we shall show, testable hypothesis to which the authors do not necessarily ascribe, yet is certainly worthy of an analysis and a report for 2 reasons. 1, the consequences, should the hypothesis turn out to be correct, could potentially be dire for humanity and would possibly require defensive measures to be undertaken, though these might prove futile. And 2, the hypothesis is an interesting exercise in its own right and is fun to pursue irrespective of its likely validity. The hypothesis in question is that the recent interstellar visitor to our solar system, 3I Atlas, is a technological artifact and furthermore has active intelligence. If this is the case, then 2 possibilities follow. First, that its intentions are entirely benign, and second, that they are malign. In the first case, humanity need do nothing save await the arrival of this intelligence with open arms. It is the second eventuality which is of most concern according to the so-called dark forest resolution to the Fermi paradox, which would be more likely as it would neatly explain the singular lack of success of the SETI initiative to date. So that's what the paper actually says. They say it right there. They're like, look, we're not saying it's aliens. So I don't know what Neil's talking about. But here's where Neil really makes a huge mistake. The thing that's driving this story isn't the stupidity of the average person, which seems to be what he's suggesting. He seems to be saying that people are too dumb to understand what this is. And so they're clamoring for an answer. And aliens is convenient. And Hollywood has given us so much to work with that it's easy for us to fill in the gaps in our knowledge with just imagination. I think he's wrong. Here's what I think is actually happening. The story is that what's driving the story is curiosity and excitement. Curiosity and excitement. The excitement of possibly discovering life outside of our solar system that's advanced. And I would suggest to you, Mr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, that should be your focus. Even if you don't think it's aliens, and even if you don't think it's likely that it's aliens, it's exciting. It's fascinating. It's interesting to people. It draws them in. It gives young people and old people alike something to be interested in space for. If if we're not an astrophysics nerd, innately, then it helps to have something to get you excited about science so that you have a way in. And for many people, aliens are that thing. After all, the understanding of how our universe works is worthy in and of itself, whether or not aliens turn out to be a thing, right? But we have a sample size of one. Our planet is bursting with life. It's not just a little life, it's exploding with life. Why would we assume that there's nothing else out there, for one? And two, if there was other life out there and it was advanced enough to be looking out into the universe as we are, and it spotted another planet or another solar system that had the ingredients necessary for life, why would they not send out a probe the same way that we send out probes? And maybe if they're plus 100 years or plus 200 years ahead of where we are right now, that might not be such a big deal. And maybe they're sending out more probes. And maybe if this all happened 10,000 years ago, before we advanced to the level we're at today, there could be probes sailing all around looking for other civilizations. My point here is that I'm not an astrophysicist. I'm not an astronomer. I don't have the technical training in this stuff, but I am a curious person by nature, and I did grow up watching science fiction. Does that make me a gullible fool? Maybe, but I don't think so. I think what it makes me is someone who is excited about learning. And this is an opportunity for someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson in his position to appeal to the curiosity in all of us and to the kid in all of us. How many scientists, how many astronomers, how many astrophysicists, how many engineers today that are professionals working at the top of their field grew up watching Star Trek and like running to the TV when they heard that song or they heard that music, and then they, that just jump in front of the TV and sit there and just watch it wide-eyed and so excited, and then grew up to go into STEM fields and then become experts in whatever their discipline is. Like the scientific discoveries that make progress for humanity, that bring us forward into the future that we're imagining together, begin in the minds of people as ideas, right? Like these are science fiction is that's the fuel. So I don't understand why he's so negative on this. I don't get his whole shtick about like it's never aliens, and if it is, that's the absolute last thing it could be. I think you should flip it the other way, Neil. This is just my own personal opinion. Um, Assume that there are aliens out there, and let's go find them. Like, let's find every way you can get somebody hooked on science by engaging with their curiosity. If someone's saying, could it be aliens? Well, I mean, aren't there anomalies associated with 3I Atlas? Okay, great. Yeah, maybe it could be aliens. Let's look at those anomalies. What are they? Let's talk about that. Well, it could be aliens. And then you can say, it could also be these other things. And it's more likely that it's XYZ and not aliens because, and you use it as a teaching opportunity. That's what your podcast should be doing. And instead, I find it just, it's such a a bummer that he comes out so hard on people for just wanting to believe that there are aliens out there. And he tries to have it both ways too. He does this thing where he's like, it could be aliens, but it's totally not aliens, and people are stupid if they think it's aliens. I don't get it. I think it's I don't know. I just think it's corny. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it drives the conversation forward. At least Avi Loeb is suggesting a hypothesis that people are engaging with, and it's bringing them into the fold. Like that people who had no interest in this stuff before are now interested in it. Okay, well, see it through, and use this as an opportunity to educate people. Don't belittle them. If you were talking to a bunch of kids in a third grade classroom or a first grade classroom, and they started asking questions about aliens, would you laugh at them and make them feel stupid? Or would you get down at their level and say, you know what? There's a lot of people who think it could be aliens, and maybe we should look at that. Let's see why they think that. And then walk through all those ideas. That's my thought, guys. I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments. Is Neil, is he right? Is he wrong? Am I way off base? I don't think so. I think he's missing a golden opportunity here. But let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Keep looking up.